Well, I hope you all are doing well. It's that time again, checking in with you. As you can see from the title, I just want to talk a little bit about what I've been working on mentally and physically and emotionally, and how that might be something that will be helpful to you. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do our traditional deep breath, and I will see you on the other side. You've noticed that the quantity of videos I've been making has wildly decreased. You'll also notice that over the last few years, I've been all over the place. And when I started this channel, I started it with trying to do travel logs called Jill's Journals, and I just was never committed to the promotion process. I missed my window of fame and fortune on YouTube. I switched to more kind of survival-y stuff, RV stuff, and then I just, went off on a whole bunch of different things. And one of the reasons I pulled way back from making videos is I've just been in so much conflict about what to make videos about for so many years now. I've just been thrashing around. In addition, in the last 6 months, I've been so focused on putting my own life plan together and doing the work to get not just out of this place, but also onto what is next. And I just first want to say thank you to all the people who emailed and posted comments in the last video about relocating and safe zones. Thank you. So it was really helpful. It was good information, lots of things to think about. But with that said, I've been thinking about, where my system of evaluation is coming into place. And, one of the things I've done over the last few years is I've written 3 books. The first book I wrote was the Survival Solution Workbook, and that's really the internal process to identify your value systems, because I believe in value-based decision making. And most of us don't really know what we believe and how that relates to our values. And so a lot of times we're making decisions that are not value-based, but the strongest relationship, the strongest community, the strongest path forward is when you make decisions based on values. And then you have to have the character and the integrity to put those values into action no matter what is going on. The second book I wrote was called Just Walk Away, and I combined that with How to Barter and Trade. And that was just some practical things that I learned from my first 4 years of living out in the dirt. I've learned so much more. The third book was called Jill's Guide to Getting Ready for Your Post-50 Future. And, I spent over 20 years as a social worker. I learned so much about what not to do in terms of preparing. And number one is most people make their retirement decisions based on their 50-year-old body, mentality, and needs. And of course, that all just blows up as you move into 70, 80, and 90. So that book is just like one big, long interview with a social worker. It's incredibly practical. It's incredibly relevant, even in today's situation. And it could save you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars if you just go through and answer those questions. But what I've also learned are 2 more things. 99% of the people who buy the book won't print it out and actually do the work. And it only works if you print it out really and answer the questions. So most people aren't going to do that. But the more important component is part 2, is that I wrote all those things before we had sort of this collapse scenario that we're experiencing right now. We knew that something was coming, and that was always my just walk away mentality. But what I'm finding as I'm a little bit older than when I wrote all that stuff is that I'm aging in a different way than I had assumed I would. I've come up into some problems that I didn't plan on having. And I've also reworked a lot of my post-50 life based on my now 9+ years of living basically off-grid and in the dirt. And it's a continuously evolving educational process. And so right now, I don't want to write a book about all of it, but I do want to start, I think, talking a little bit about it, because one of the reasons I don't want to make videos very much is also things just went in a direction that we weren't planning. And there's two things I think coming down the pike. One is this format's going to go away, and two, I don't want to share my personal details online anymore. And so I've been really struggling with what is safety and security, not just survival. And it's very different as an older woman to think about your safety and survival. And when we first had everything kind of collapse, and the beginning of the violence, the punching people for no reason, the racial attacks for no reason other than physical acuity here, that I just went into this big old, holy crap, I haven't been thinking about all this in a practical way for today's world. And I came up with a list of about 30 things that I would change, knowing what I know now in terms of how to be safer and more secure as an older woman who basically I can't fight my way out of a mob situation. And it isn't what people think. And I think that's sort of been the second piece of this, because I've always been safe and secure in my own physical, mental, emotional process because I understand it from a universal perspective, but the rules have all radically changed. And what a victim profile is for someone who's trying to rob you is totally different than what's happening right now, the psychology of what's happening right now. So, and the first thing that I am changing is how much personal detail I am going to share online, including physical location. So while I'm still here, it's just no big secret, because you can look around and, people can get your location off landmarks, off the horizon, off details that you let slip. So I can't undo the past, but I am going to make some pretty specific changes moving forward as I get out of here. But I also want to start talking about some of the things to do, because I've really focused on rebuilding my next home as my forever home, not just putting into play things I know that are important as you age into a different body, a different mental and emotional state. Your home and where you live, it's just very different than when you're, in your pre-50 body, mind, and life. But also preventative. And I don't really talk about that in my Getting Ready book. I talk a lot about what to do to keep from falling, but I don't talk a lot about how to implement physical activity or other things to increase your balance so you don't fall. And that's really where my thinking and my mentality has gone with my human training program, is how do I stay as healthy, sharp, and strong as I can, so I don't need to be afraid as I age. But the reality is the world is changing up in a way that I think we psychologically, mentally, we knew was coming, but it's a whole different ballgame emotionally. And it's something that's not getting talked about physically, because when I researched self-defense for women, especially women over 50, 99% of self-defense comes up as guns or physical fighting. And that isn't a practical solution. You can't gun, like the couple in Missouri, you can't gun down a mob of 500 and think it's going to go well. It's time. So there's a lot to all of this that can't be covered in just one shot. And so it's not going to be just about self-defense, for women over 50. But I just have been really thinking a lot about what I need to do to change it up so that I'm safe and secure as I move out of this place. And the rules are radically different, because once upon a time, strangers were welcome because we had an open, safe world. And now, as a nomad or a traveler or a relocation person or a refugee, strangers aren't going to be welcome. And there's going to be a whole different predator-prey relationship, I think, among individuals. So that's just a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today in terms of where I've been, what I'm doing now, and where I want to go. Of course, you know me, I always change my mind, but for today, that's what I really have been thinking a lot about. It's not just where to go, but it's how to stay safe, how to feel secure, how to survive what's coming, all within the limitations of this fabulous aging experience that me and the dog. The dog is now 10. His little gray hair situation has gotten as wild as mine, but it's just a whole new ball game. So I hope everybody's doing well. As usual, if you're going to be interested in this, I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll come back, because they just keep, unsubscribing people. So with that, my friends, I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you next time. Are you good? He's ready to go back in.